Well, hello there, and good evening. Greetings. My name is Vinny K, and I am back. Been a long time since the last one I did. Here again to talk about my favorite band in the whole world, and that's Rush. And this time, I'm talking about the album Counterparts, which is Rush's 15th studio album, released in 1993, late 1993. I think it was, I don't know the exact date of its release. I think it was October, November, something like that. I should know. But I'll put it in the description or something. But it was 1993. It was late 1993. And I'm gonna talk about it and how and in the context of my journey with Rush that I've been discussing in all my videos, starting with Signals, because that was my gateway into Rush, as I talk about in that video. And I've been just going every album after that, and I'm up to this album. So I'm going to talk all about it, just like I did with the other ones. Everything to do with Counterparts. What a great record, and it really is. But let's not get too ahead of myself. Start from the beginning. One thing I love to talk about is uh, the time period between albums and the previous album, Roll the Bones, and this one. A lot happened. A lot happened in my life, in my personal life. Overall, I was going to Five Towns College and finishing up there. I basically finished up in there and graduated and stuff like that. And but a lot happened. A lot happened with me. A lot happened musically in rock. So many changes from uh, in the landscape of rock because in 1991, right when around the time Roll the Bones was put out, we had Nirvana came out with Nevermind, and that just changed everything. And so you had like the Nirvanas and all the Seattle bands, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. Alice in Chains came out right a little bit before all that. And then all these other bands like Smashing Pumpkins in 1993. Well, 1993 is when Counterparts came out. So Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream came out that year, big breakthrough album for them. Stone Temple Pilots, all these different bands, and the whole landscape of rock just totally changed. Um, which is where this album kind of it comes in really cool because you know what's really cool is Rush. Rush never was the kind of band that you know was snobby towards current bands. They listen to everything. They have their favorites from when they grew up, but they're always listening to music, and very open minded. I know some other bands from other, well known legendary bands who couldn't, care less about, whatever. But Rush, they're not that. They were always sponges and always listening and checking out. And they were big fans of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana, even though Rush is a prog band, they were never snobby towards, that's why I hated when people call them pretentious, because they were never pretentious. They were never kind of like, oh, we're progressive rock and we're this and that. And they've never, even back in Hemisphere, they were not that way. They've always been very humble and very respective of other bands. So, and they always handled it right as far as like, going with the times and changing with the times with their own music and everything. They've never like kind of were they never fell into like peer pressure, like oh we need to do this because this is what's selling or anything. It's always just been what do they want to do and everything. Anyway, I'll get into all that. But between Roll the Bones and this, a lot happened with me. You know, I was personally, long story short, like I was sort of starting to really come out of my shell as a person, and it was a long period between 1993 and I would say like 1997, 98. That it was a snowballing effect of, because long story short, in high school and everything, late 80s, early 90s, I was a very shy person with, whether it was just regular people or girlfriends or whatever. Just really shy, really not insecure with myself. Uh, Confident, didn't have a whole lot of confidence. I had confidence with my music, but as a person overall, just. But 1990, that was starting to change. I was starting to pick up some confidence um, in that area of just and it was a slow effect with 1993, 1994, 1994. So that was going on, and like I said, um, graduated from Five Towns College. Musically, I think in '93, I wrapped up recording. There was the band I was in was Black Onyx, and well, we really weren't a band anymore, really. But we recorded some songs in '92, and it took like 2 years to kind of finish. We recorded 5 songs, but to finish the songs, I finished them in '93, like mixing them and everything. And it wasn't an album, but it was like we did like 5 songs, and so I did that. But I was kind of starting to move on from that, and so much was going on, like in the world and everything. Just so 1993 was a very interesting time, and Rush was coming off the album Roll the Bones, and before that Presto, which were really good albums, really good songs. I talked on length about those two. But when this album hit, Counterparts, when these first few songs come out, it was like a smack in the face. Now, what I heard in between the albums was the rumor was, well, complete absence of keyboards, no keyboards. Which now that we know it in the history of Rush, it was the album that really did that was Vapor Trails, where there was absolutely positively no keyboards. But that was what the rumor was about this album, Counterparts, before it came out. I remember being at parties and they were talking like, yeah, it's supposed to be no keyboards at all. And there's almost no keyboards. There's virtually no keyboard, but there is some on a few songs. But it's you know, like even if they weren't there, it wouldn't have mattered. But Geddy Lee is so good at arranging and using. There's always they always want to have some other sound to add to the arrangement. And it's on there in a few tracks, but it's like very minimal, you know. And but the big thing with this album is so in your face. So um, the first couple tracks that I heard, once again, it was WBAB releasing the first songs that I heard. It's the one thing you can say about today about they played a lot of the same songs. But back in the day, they were the ones where I would always hear the new Rush song. I know with Dreamline with the previous album, I kind of someone leaked it and I heard it, but I know if that wouldn't have happened, I would have heard it probably on BAB. Well, that's what happened with here, but this time it wasn't one song; it was 2 songs, and it was Between Sun and Moon and Stick It Out. 2 songs that never. I don't care what people said about there being no keyboards. I did not expect. Because, like Presto Roll the Bones, they brought back the trio ward focus, definitely. And compared to, like, Hold Your Fire and stuff, it was definitely stripped down and definitely. Compared to them, it was a little more in your face with Show and Tell and things like. But the keyboards were still in there, and there was still a very melodic sense to the songs. And overall, there was a, I hate to say it, like, I don't want to say it like politeness. Even Rush kind of said that. A little bit polite, like a little bit like, but I don't really see it like they're wimping out or anything. No, 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 no. It just seemed to me like they were just maturing. It was like a mature version of the band. But with this, they said, well, we could be mature, but fuck it, with this, we're just gonna smack you in the face. And I did not see the sound of these 2 songs. Stick It Out, Stick It Out. The heaviness of this song is just so raw and so, and Between Sun and Moon, same thing. Very, those 2 songs are the first 2 songs I heard, which I'll get more into because I'm gonna go through all the tracks. But right away you got this is the direction of this album. Really? Okay, wow. It was just like it was like wow. This is the band that a year and a half ago just did Roll the Bones and Presto, and before that Presto. Like wow, wow. Like this is a made. I remember Getty once saying earlier, previously on I think around Power Windows, about someone asked him, "Where do you think the band's going to go the next few albums?" And I remember him saying something like, "Oh, something to the effect of like, it could go along the same lines and then have a left turn, and there could be a left turn somewhere." Well, this is the left turn. This is the left turn. It's Counterparts, but it's like they kind of came full circle because the whole thing is like, and I'll get more into it, like the sort of direction of this album, of like more in your face, more ballsy, more thick. Yeah, like when you listen to some of the bootlegs, and generally speaking, live they're always heavier than on the album. But you listen to like the moving picture store, like some of the bootlegs from that, and you hear how bombastic it is, like when they do these songs. Well, that's what this album had, and I'll get into the live performance, the live concert, that had that sound that I did not hear on previous tour. Even though compared to the albums, yes, they always sounded heavier, but nothing like on this tour. That was the first time I was able to experience how Rush really sounds when they use Marshalls and they use Getty with his jazz bass and all this stuff, and give you a really thick Rush sound. That this is what they started out with, you know. But yeah, so the first two tracks that I heard sort of set the tone for that. Like this is a new, we're back. The band that you remember from moving pictures and before that, like that sound is back. The thick guitar sound, layered guitar, like the keyboards were the layered thing on Power Windows on the Fire, but now it's back to the guitars on the layered thing. Um, but the other song that I heard before hearing all of the album was Animate, another one, Animate. And I remember this, you know, we had a nice camaraderie of Rush fans where I was playing the band Black Onyx, my drummer. Um, well, actually, the guy that introduced me to him was this guy Andy. I don't know if he's out there. I don't remember his last name, but if ever watches this, he'll know who I'm talking about. He worked in the deli at King Cullen, the supermarket I worked at, and I remember I was actually working. I was actually doing cards, and he said, get in the car." He pulled up. I got in his car. We went for a little drive. I wasn't even on break or anything, but he took me for a drive, and he played me Anime in his car. It is awesome stereo, and it was like whoa. There's two places to hear songs that are the best places to hear a song. One is in headphones, especially Rush music, and the other is in a car with a nice stereo and moving motion. Because music and motion, is the best thing. And that's what happened. He took me for a ride around the block, playing me the song in its entirety, Animate. The first time I ever heard it. You just press play and we listened to it and drove around the neighborhood. And it just sounded so incredible. And I was just like, whoa. And even after hearing the first two tracks, which were Between Sun and Moon and Stick It Out, it was like a whole nother side to this album that, you know, Getty was bass and everything. So that was the first three tracks, and it just blew me away, that song. Just shocker. It was a shock hearing these songs after hearing Roll the Bones. Coming after Roll the Bones. You know? Because, like, Roll the Bones after Presto was, like, sort of like, okay, this is sort of like, I said it before the last album. They do their albums in fours, right? But even within that four album sequence, they 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 do them in twos, too. You know, like so. Presto Roll the Bones is sort of like yeah, Power Windows and Hold Your Fire. Well, probably the producer too, because it was Rupert Hine, and but this was a whole nother shot, a whole nother turn. Now the funny thing is they're back with Peter Collins who did Hold Your Fire and Power Windows, but this is a whole different album, different vibe. But yeah, it was just like such a shock. So a little bit later on, they had an album release party. Well, it was a premiere on. Now I think this was not B. I think it was BAB. They did a sign. Yeah, it was like a one of those simulcasts, you know, all over the country kind of thing. Where they played the entire album, well, pretty much the whole album, with interviews in between and stuff, which was really cool. They did a similar thing with all the Bells and Presto. And it was great. I remember myself. I knew it was coming, so I bought myself a bunch of beers and just listened to the premiere. And it was such an amazing. I had it on tape somewhere. I don't know if I have it, but it was just so cool. It was such a great thing. It was such a celebration of this new album, and hearing all the tracks come out just blew me away. Blew me away. And I'm going to talk about each song. How about we do that? Um, well, and before I do that, here's the album cover. And that guy Andy that played me to animate in his car. When the album was released, I forgot the date. I should have brought the date. I should know. People say you should know that. Well, we were in the store working, and the day of the release, he came in and he said, hey, yo, and he held the album like this, like I have it. He was the first one of all of us to get it. All of us Rush fans. We all were Rush fans. And he held it up like this, and I remember seeing it, seeing this album cover. And he'd been like, wow. It's, it is very much like a Hold Your Fire type of album cover with this abstract sort of image in the beginning. And then, let me do this for again. Let me just get this out of here. If you open it up, there's more inside, though, that relates to what things. And this one has a lot of pictures and different things and different. It opens up and it's like almost like a poster or something. A whole bunch of songs, a whole bunch of images. This had the most elaborate thing of anything. Look at this. It's got all these pictures and stuff. All these images. It was so wicked, I'll open it more if I can. But yeah, here's the CD. Really cool packaging. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, it's 2023, so it's 30 years. In October, whatever it was, November, I think it was October, it'll be the 30th anniversary of Counterparts. Yeah. Look at that. This is my remastered copy. My original copy, I don't longer have. I forgot what happened. I think I got lost. It got stuck inside of a six-way CD player. It got stuck inside. That's okay though. Anyway, this opens up. There's more images in here. Very elaborate. Oh, there's the lyrics, of course. All the lyrics. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Just trying to open this without dropping the fucking phone. Here we go. Lyrics. All the lyrics. Everything. And then on the back, a bunch of images and stuff. Really elaborate. You saw him. I think Eddie Trunk just did an interview with him talking about all the album covers. But this is very much like, I would say, like, well, the main cover is like I said, like a Hold Your Fire type thing. Just showing you a basic image, Counterparts. And obviously, you could look at that and, like your head's in the gutter, you'd be thinking about certain things. But, and then inside it kind of gets more into things. Because with this album, that's the other thing. Lyrically, the theme was duality. And Neil gets into that. Very complex, but that was basically it. Like just... So, the album comes out, and Andy had it, and he showed it. And really cool, stark kind of album cover. This is the tour book, too. I love it. There was a shirt with this picture, too, which that could have been the album cover, too, if we wanted to. But I remember I got a t-shirt. I had a t-shirt somewhere of that image. It was a really cool shirt. I don't know what the hell I got. So, first track, Animate. Like I said, I'm going to go through all the tracks. Starts out with the drums and really sets the tone for the album. Getty's bass. The whole thing with Getty is, now this is coming off of the previous tour with Rollerbones, the second leg, they had Primus opened up to them. I never heard of them up to that point. And Les Claypool, legendary bass player, who I think that's Getty's favorite bass player or something. One of his favorite bass players, and you know, Getty again. They're not snobs. Total respect for this guy, but it's like people that he influenced him back. So, Les Claypool is a big Rush fan like me and all my friends, but Getty still respects his playing and is influenced by him too. So on this album, it's very funky, and that Animate shows that right off the bat. Right off the bat, you hear Getty doing this, but instead of being like Getty's not like, well, I'm gonna try to be like Les. I'm gonna try to be like Flea, another guy like from the Chili Peppers. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do my own funk playing, and he reinvented his own wheel on this album. And you would hear what he does on this album. You know what I'm talking about, that this flamenco thing he does, which is him being funky, and this would carry on for the rest of his playing. He would incorporate this into everything, all the albums going forward, part of his repertoire of how he plays. Um, and Animate is sort of like the first time we kind of hear that. Is this like flamenco, very aggressive. He pounded the shit out of the thing. Um, Very full sound from Alex, guitars, back in center stage. This song was virtually, I think there's some organ in the back, but again, guitars are just front and center. Getting Alex and Neil just playing as a unit, and Getty's voice sounding a lot like the old songs and stuff like that. The song is so epic, Animate. You could open the show with it. And I remember with the album order, the running order, I because I heard Between Sun and Moon, I remember back in the day being like, well, when it came out, being like, maybe that should have been the first song. But now that I've heard the album and years gone by, I agree with Rush's decision to make Animate the first track, because, yeah, it really should be the opening track. I'm surprised they didn't open any concert with this song from this tour or going forward, because they could have opened a show with this song. But really great. The lyrics, Animate Me, very complex, getting into duality. I'll get into the lyrics in another video because it's so complex. But basically duality, setting the tone about that, about the theme. Um, Alex is playing. It's very layered. The guitar sound. He went through a lot of hell for this album too, because he was stuck on the way he was recording the guitars on the last two albums. He had a certain method of doing his guitars with effects and all stuff. His quote unquote refrigerator of effects. And the one guy that helped do this album was the caveman Shirley, and he convinced Alex to try to ditch his effects and just go with straight up plug it into a bunch of Marshalls with the Les Pauls and all that. And it took Alex. They had arguments and stuff. They talk about it in the one documentary, Through the Light of Stage. But he was able to convince him. He was able to convince him, and that make the guitars very direct and in your face, and really almost no effects. There's virtually no effects on these songs with Alex, and it's very thick sound. Because the last time it was this thick on songs like this, Stick It Out, the next song, again very thick, very heavy. Maybe not in the Metallica sort of chug like chugging, but still for Rush very heavy. Because they've always been really heavy. I hate it when people go, they're not heavy. Yes, they are. They're loud. When Rush plays the way that, like this, I remember being at Radio City Music Hall. I'm just going to side issue for the our 30 tour, before the concert, outside, at hours before the show, and listening to them do their sound check. I was by the door, by the stage door, and heard their sound check, and it was rumbling the building. We heard it from the outside with the door closed, and we could hear them doing. I think it was "Summertime Blues" and "Subdivision" in the sound check, and it was rumbling the building. And this is how Rush is live, and they put it on this album, because that was the whole thing. The direction with this album was that they were playing live, and the songs were sounding really cool and heavy, but they wanted to get that on the record. That's what this album does. Anyway, I'm talking about so many different things. There's so many aspects of this album that are, like I said, that was such a smack in the face for fans. "Stick It Out" is another song. Again, just really dark, really just, you know. What I was meaning to say before was Moving Pictures. I know that on Moving Pictures, and probably a lot of their other albums, like Permanent Waves, Alex layered the guitars, like maybe four guitars. Four track. They'd be like four tracks of guitars. And then with Signals, they kind of said, let's not do that. Let's have more of a angular sound. And they kind of went with that kind of thing with the guitars going forward, even on Presto and Roll the Bones. And Alex said that the only time that he kind of mixed more than one guitar is when he put two different kinds of guitars, two different sounding guitars to balance the sound out. Like he did that with like The Pass and different songs. But not in the way that on Moving Pictures. Well, this album, like Moving Pictures, he laid it. Now, he did use different guitars. Like, I think he said it was a Tele, a Les Paul, and like a Paul Reed Smith or something. A lot of these tracks are all laid together. And it sounds really cool. It's really balanced. Tonal depth, I mean, like... And the whole thing is, a lot of rock bands were sort of doing that. Because we were coming out of the 80s. And it took like 3-4 years for all these different bands to go from the way that they were recording in the 80s, which had a lot of keyboards. A lot of these bands, even Van Halen and stuff, right? Keyboards and different things, and a certain sound, electronic drums sometimes. And I know with Van Halen, they had the pound kick out. That was in '91. So a lot of these bands, there was this direction of going for, and in the way of recording was leaning towards a more in-your-face sound. Now, Rush, which is Counterparts, they finally caught up to that with themselves. It was now possible to put your live sound on a record and get, and that was, I would say, rock bands in general, especially the newer bands going for, like, you put on the CD and louder. Now, people complain later about the loudness wars or whatever. But yeah, that started around in the early 90s. But band albums like this, albums like For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge with Van Halen, and different albums, Metallica's Black Album, heaviness, loudness in rock. It started to incorporate it. It wasn't so like, underground anymore. Well, Rush, they've never been Metallica heavy, but like I said, with this album, they established themselves like, yeah, we could, and it was really important for us to do this. Anyway, Stick It Out, So In Your Face, such a great riffing tune, like just riff rock kind of song. And it's great because Rush is known for being prog rock, but the thing is, Geddy, Alex, and Neil, they know that they're prog rock, and they don't shy away from that, but at the same time, they also don't forget the fact that they're also a hard rock band. A band that when they started out, was into Cream and into Led Zeppelin. And that's their sensibility as far as heaviness. They'd never been sort of like into Black Sabbath or Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, really. But I know Geddy's a fan of like Metallica and Master Puppets. But they've never, as a band, Rush has never gone that heavy in that way. But they have their own way of being heavy, And believe me, it's heavy. It's loud. They're a fucking loud band. This is the band that when they were in the, back in the bars, when I was a little kid, I didn't even know about them. When they used to play in bars, they used to get complaints that they were playing too loud and stuff like that. So this is the band that now I got to hear what this band is like on this tour. But I'll get into the tour. But Stick It Out, great second track. That was one of the first two songs I heard, and I think he tunes down. He tunes the E string to D. Very heavy, very such a heavy song. Anyway, third track, Cut to the Chase. Um, Another great song on this album that takes the direction, continues this direction of In Your Face. Although it starts out with the little arpeggiated part from Alex, little clean part, but it doesn't take long for this song to cut to the chase. No pun intended. To go off to the races and really, kick you in the mouth and just be like, yeah. This is a song I wish they played live. Again, they didn't start doing the evening with since till Touch for Echo tour. But it would have been nice if they did it on this tour because there's songs on this album that they didn't play on the tour that or a later tour that should have been played. Not and Cut to the Chase is one of them. This is probably my favorite track on the album, arguably, because it's so great. It's so like it's so rush, it's so rush. I mean, there's energy. There's like 2112 energy on this song, especially in the bridge. There's a bridge after the guitar solo, which is another thing to talk about. But it's so dynamic. This song a little more dynamic because Stick It Out, very in your face, very, animate, same thing. That had some dynamics too. And with the guitar solo, very Alex, very unique. And it's not like flashy or anything. It's more just. But this song, Cut to the Chase, between the verses and the chorus, a little bit of dynamics. But when it cuts to the chorus, it cuts to the chase, it gets really rocking, really heavy, and in a very rushed way where the chord progression that the chords they play is not like predictable. It's shifting back and forth between different chords, and Getty mixes it up with how he sings "Cut to the Chase" because sometimes he's like "Cut to the Chase," and other time he's like "Cut to the Chase." He does that, he'll switch up the way he sings it. Um, Great lyrics, of course. So many images. Neil's always giving you these images that even if you don't know exactly what he's talking about, he's giving you images, one line by line. And I'll cover the lyrics on another video, because. But the engine that drives it, so it's a very inspiring song. It's a very motivating song. It's one of those great motivational songs. But the guitar solo comes out of nowhere. My favorite thing is about this song is the guitar solo. It just smacks you in the face, comes out of nowhere. Because it goes to the original, the way it opens the song. The riff that opens the song, the arpeggiated riff, it plays you a little bit of that after the second chorus, but all of a sudden, Alex just interrupts with this ripping, shredding guitar solo that we haven't heard Alex play, I don't know, since Moving Pictures or Hemisphere, or ever, really. Like, anyone that thought, oh, this guy, when he wants to shred, he can shred. He does it when he wants to. There's people that want him to do this on every song. Well, he doesn't do it on every song. He plays what's right for the song. But there's times when he does it. And on this song, he just totally does it. He comes in and hits you in the mouth, and he just rips on that. I think it's the Paul Reed Smith. Sounds like the Paul Reed Smith. And then it comes into the bridge. Again, very much a 2112 energy with that pounding, just... Oh, if they played this live, it would have tore that roof off of places. But song that definitely need to be played live. All right, let's move on. Nobody's Hero is the fourth track, and this is a change of pace. Starts out the strumming acoustic 12 string of Alex, and this is more of a song, a song where the lyrics talking about heroes and what a hero means to you, according to Getty and Neil. Um, and it's a change of pace. Now we've had Presto had, like I said, an album. First time hearing strumming acoustic guitars on an album in the longest time for us. Well, there was a little bit of that on Roll the Bones. I think in the chorus of Roll the Bones we hear a little bit of that in the mix. But here's another song like Presto, where there's strumming acoustics and Getty's voice on top of it. Very folky, like in the old days. Love it. And but this is a very modern, at the same time, very modern sounding Rush song. When they cut into the rest of the verses and choruses in this song. A little string section in the background too. But this is less of a riffing song and more of a what the lyrics are about and singing a very emotional kind of a song. And I love it. I love it. Alex's guitar solo. It is a guitar solo. It's a chordal solo, kind of along the lines of what we heard on Grace Under Pressure, but applying it into one of these songs, and that works out great. It fits perfect. I love the chorus. Alex's progression through that chorus is very unique, very Alex, very sophisticated, actually, very complex. But this song really works as track 4. I think it was a single. It was a video, yeah, and sounded great live. Getty's harmonies, his urgency and delivery on this song is one of his best. I think it was one of Neil's favorite vocal tracks of Getty's. He talked about it on that little documentary about Getty that was on VH1 or whatever, classic. He mentioned this song um, about a shadow crossing his heart when he heard that his friend died, or hearing about and just like having a hero in your life, and it's not Superman, it's not some fake actor from Hollywood. It's people in your lives that are your heroes, whether it's your father, your mother, your grandfather, or somebody, your wife, your girlfriend, or your brother. It's somebody who really makes a difference. The unsung heroes, and this is before 9/11 too, way before 9/11. But if you apply it to that, it works there. With the heroes of 9/11, or whether it be military, or, there's so many. But it's those heroes that nobody's hero. It's just everyday, just people. Which they get into that whole thing in another song, "Everyday Glory." But yeah, everyday people. That theme. It's another theme besides duality. Yeah, just get into regular reality. That's one thing with these songs with Neil. He talks. None of their songs are cliche. He talks about things that are like, yeah, this is the real deal of what a reality really is like, and that's what it gets into with Nobody's Hero. Next song, Between Sun and Moon. Between Sun and Moon. And look, I'll revisit these songs again later on. In fact, I want to do videos where I actually react to the songs while it's playing, and tell you what I think and point out things. I want to get into doing videos like that. I haven't figured out how. I see a lot of other people doing reaction videos, and I would love to do them. I just got to figure out how to do them. So I will revisit all these, because there's things I'm probably like, oh, I should have talked about that. But believe me, I'll come back to this and talk about the lyrics in depth. I'm just trying to go through the album and get through it, because there's a lot. I started with singles, right? 8 tracks. This has 11 songs on it now. So yeah. So Between Sun and Moon, that was the first track I heard. Now the lyrics sound very unique, and it's because he co-wrote the song with Pi DeWall. I forgot how to say his name. I'm sorry, Pi DeWall. I forget how to say it. But he co-wrote, Tom Sawyer, Force 10, things like that. And you always know when that guy helps him on a song, contributes to a Rush song, is because the lyrics just have a certain vibe. And you almost like, oh, that's got to be him on that. And it is. Um, but the lyrics, it's very just a lot. Again, a lot of images to me. No, I have no idea what really the song. To this day, I have no idea what the song is really about. I'm getting again. I'm always the music first. That's another thing. I'm always the music first, lyrics second, even to this day. So with this song, I was just getting off on just how heavy and how in your face and just rocking out in a way we haven't heard. This song in particular is like the lost song from something moving pictures and earlier. It's like they just put it on this album. So it was just great to hear that. They're definitely showing off their Who influence on this song too, especially in the middle section, which was like not really a guitar solo, it's more of a band solo. The band just sounds like they're jamming out. They're jamming, and it definitely shows their Who, the Who. They love the Who, but it's Rush's way of playing it. But that's what I get out for this song. It's really just a rock song, great rock song, and it's not even. I wouldn't even say this song is necessarily prog. There's no big odd time signatures. It's just again Rush revisiting their roots. The Who, they were big Who fans, and I think it shows that a lot in a cool way. Um, and they didn't play the song on the tour, but they brought it back for the Vapor Trail song. And that's another thing. There's on this album, there's little things on this album. This is 1993, by the way, and when it was released. And there's aspects of this album that are sort of a preview of what we'll hear later on Vapor Trails that came out in 2002 after their 5 year hiatus after Neil's tragedy. But there's little elements on some of these songs that Vapor Trails would revisit, like the entire album. Well, I think this song is one of them, and they brought it on the tour. I thought for that reason, also because John Entwistle died, and I think they wanted to kind of pay tribute to him. But I think that's what it was. They kind of felt like, well, this song fits in context great with the songs from Vapor Trail, and it did. It was kind of like 9 years earlier. Just a great rock song. Nothing too deep. And the next song, which I think, if this was a record, it would have been opening side two, and that's Alien Shore. Another song that, why didn't they play this live? They maybe could have played it even on the Test for Echo tour. I know the reason for that, and even with that 3 hour show, because first of all they played 2112 in its entirety on that tour. If they hadn't done that, I think they probably could have played this, and like things like Cut to the Chase and Everyday Glory, which is the final track. We'll get to that. But there's a bunch of songs on this album they could have played live, or maybe should have played live. This is one of them. Alien Shore. You could open a concert with this song. The way it opens up, it's just boom, explodes. The energy on this song has that future, the Vapor Trails energy, 2112 kind of energy. Like, which, like, again, even Presto and Counterparts did not have. They were great. Compared to the previous albums, they were definitely pointing in the right direction as far as guitars again. But this album and this song in particular really shows you, like, you want to see Rush rocking out in a big way. Alien Shore, the way it opens, but again, this song is dynamic too because it switches into the verses, and you're in this other part which is very textured and very funky, with Getty doing a very funky bass, Alex doing very textured atmospherics. They said let's go in this direction of in your face, but they didn't forget about dynamics either, and doing other things, like with Nova's Hero and the beginning part in Cut to the Chase with the arpeggio. Rush is always thinking outside the box and doing other things besides. Let's not just have 10 songs that are just all distortion and, no, there's got to be dynamic, because then when you play those heavy parts, it makes them heavier. When you have another part that's textured or something, then you get into that heavy part, it makes it heavier because it hits you in the face, it kicks you in the nuts, it's like, yeah. But this song, one of my favorite guitar solos on the album, along with "Cut to the Chase" from Alex, very unique. It's not flashy. He's not trying to. Now, in Cut the Chase, he was showing how he could shred when he wants to. And again, that's not going to be every song with Alex. He doesn't need to do that. Doesn't feel the need. He just does it when he wants to. On Alien Shore, it was like this is Alex, being like coming up with playing a guitar solo that no one would do. His own, like, he's always reinventing himself, album to album. He always is like trying to reinvent himself and come up with a way of playing something. What else can I do? What haven't I done? You know, most of us guitar players, if we haven't done what he's done, we want to be the guitar animals and rock animals and play nuts and play a lot of notes and do all. But once you've done that, once you've done been there and done that, you want to. What else is there to do? Alex is so great at doing that, of not just doing the same thing over and over. Well, Alien Shore's guitar solo shows that. It is so inventive and so Alex, you know. But Getty and Neil, I mean, rocking out Neil's lyrics of duality. I think this is talking about a relationship, about a very, strong relationship between a man and a woman. And Alien Shore, reaching out to the Alien Shore. Uh, I think it's just like two people that get each other. Like sometimes we're all kind of misfits in society, because we have our own ways that we're being. And when you're trying to get in a relationship, you want someone who gets you. Like my girlfriend, I love her because she gets me. And other people might be like, well, you're weird. No, you got to get somebody who gets you. That's what we're all different individually in our own way. But at the end of the day, finding that person, that best friend in your life, soulmate, it's all about finding that person that gets you. I think that's to me, what Alien Shore is about. In Neil's complex way of his lyrics, I don't have them in front of me. I'll get into that another time, like I said. But basically, that's what I take from it. It's just like finding your soulmate and someone that gets you, and it's alien to other people, but embracing what's unique about you. I like that about you. Yeah. That's it's weird as fuck, but I love it. I dig it. I dig that about you. When two people have that thing going, soulmate, that's how it is. Like I dig that about you. What maybe other people don't like about it, that you like about each other. You get it. You dig it. No. But musically, yeah, just in your face, and also dynamics and texture. It's got all these things going on. But rock it out. It rocks out to the end when the chorus, reaching the alien shore. Ends really nice. Really great harmonies. Great rocking too. Now, the next song, Speed of Love, is a change of pace again. Again, they're not just giving you the same song over and over and over again. Some metal fans like that, want that. You want that. There's bands that do that. AC/DC will give you an album where every single song is a certain way. The whole album. Not Rush. Now this song sounds as thick and lush with the guitars as any of the other songs on Counterparts. But it's a different kind of Rush song. It's actually like, it's very much a Rush song. But it's like what Rush chilled out. Chilled out, subtle. That's the word I was looking for, subtle. There's subtleties in some of this playing. Alex, going back to Between Sun and Moon, he does some parts where he's playing with his fingers. Some of the riffs. It's subtle things that he's doing, that you don't pick up on. That, the songs, they might not be progressive or proggy in the way you would think, like Dream Theater does, or the way Rush used to do on Hemispheres and Farewell to King. But they're always still complex. They're always still challenging. Joe Blow Band tries to play any of these songs, they're still going to be hard to play. Well, with Speed of Love, pure example of that. Here's a song that's not so flashy. It's very chilled out for Rush, but there's a lot going on in this song. Listen to the drums. The thing about Neil Peart, with all this complexity, his songs at the end of the day are compositions. percussion wise, just along like with the rest of the song. His individual part is a composition of drums. And this song has, if you listen to it closely, yeah, he talked about in an interview about how much he worked on it. Really cool. And I think Getty, again, he stands out on this song. That's the thing about Alex. He lets the other two guys shine. He knows when not to play. And this is a perfect song when he does that, where he's creating textures with his guitar playing, and letting Getty do his funk business with the bass, which is all over the song, all over from beginning to end, especially in I think the middle eight or whatever, the bridge. You hear Getty just funking out with his new technique, and Neil's doing all kinds of percussive, complex stuff that he always does, using his different drums and the different percussive and electronic drums and different things. Very unique song, very chilled out. Getty's vocals very chilled out. Great message, Speed of Love. I think it goes good with Alien Shore, in the sense again of when you find your soulmate. I think it's another song where if you found your soulmate, you understand that song, Speed of Love, and Alien Shore. So they go. It's nice that they go back to back. I think there was a reason for that. They're both very different songs musically, but lyrically, getting at sort of the same concept from but slightly different angle. Um, but again, I can't wait to one day just go and react to these songs one by one, and point out what I'm talking about. Because it's one thing to talk about it when not hearing the song, and maybe if you haven't heard the song. Um, but when I do that, I will do that. But yeah, great, cool song, very underrated. You know, some people might skip the song or something because they want action or whatever. They're not, but believe me, this song is cool. I put it on. It's a good sounding. It's just a good feel. It's a chilled out song, but it feels good. But after this, personally, I've always the whole album is great, but I think it gets better as it goes along. That's another thing with Counterparts. Because Double Agent, the next track, Double Agent, the next four track, Double Agent, leave this thing alone, leave that thing alone. Cold Fire, and Everyday Glory. The way this album closes, I absolutely love it. It's such a great running order. Like some people talk about perfect album sides. I think the side two of this is the perfect album side of this album, really. Um, or at least the last four tracks. I think are just. Let me say that Alien Shore, Speed of Love, Double Agent, Leave That Thing Alone, Cold Fire, and Everyday Glory. Nice running order. But it really kicks into gear with Double Agent. This is a song that Getty mentioned was a complete exercise in self-indulgence. Self-indulgence. Exercise in self-indulgence, which is La Via Strangiata, which means they're not worried about this note or that note. They're not worried about, because they are with the other song. When they're trying to get the perfect arrangements for everything. Not with this. They just said, let's just have fun, just fucking jam out, and just come up with a really cool song that's just like nothing you ever heard in your whole life, even from Rush. And actually, it's like nothing else, sort of like nothing else they've ever done, because it goes in such directions that you never thought. With first of all, in the verses, Getty's has his talking voice, speaking lyrics, and then other parts where he's singing. But having this talking voice come through in the verses while the band's playing, almost like an instrumental with this voice talking over it. Really unique. So they're always giving you surprises, Rush. That's what I love. They always like trying new things. Double H is a total song when they do that. But towards the end, the bridge going on, towards the middle and the end, there's a lot of that again, that 2112 energy. When this song kicks into gear and it rocks out, especially the second half of the song, it's just total 2112 energy. I hear a little bit of Fell with the Kings in there too, a little bit of that Cygnus X1 energy going on. vibe, or whatever, but in a modern way in the 90s. Um, it's such a weird song. It's such a different song, but it's such a interesting song. A great title too, Double Agent. Um, Getting into duality again, the complexities of that, and but to me, the music, I guess, could offer. To me, it almost comes across as like an instrumental with words on top, which I guess all their songs are. But this song, there's no instrumentals on this. I'm sorry, there is. There's Leave That Thing Alone. I'm sorry. Most of the songs are instrumentals with the lyrics. That's what I'm trying to say. And this song is almost like that. It's almost like a second instrument. That's what my brain is trying to say right now. I'm so sorry. Um, it's just such a joy to listen to. It was such a fresh thing to hear, especially after Roll the Bones and Presto. It's songs like Double Agent and Alien Shore that we go, wow, you don't think Rush is going to do that again. Hearing strumming guitars, acoustic, in Presto or here in Nobody's Hero, wow, they're doing that again? We didn't think they would ever do that again. They gave you that impression, but no, Rush is always, and I'll talk about on later on again how they pull other things out. Well, you didn't think they were going to do that again. Well, they find this other side of them they forgot about. Well, Double Agent has that again. But it's so such a fucked up song. It's so fucked up, but it's cool in a cool way. When they did it live, it was so cool. Now, I'll talk about most of the concerts later, but when they did this live, the best thing about the song is when he says, "My precious sense of honor." I think that's the line. All these, the flames came up off the stage. These pyrotechnics. All of a sudden, all this fire erupted from the stage, and you could feel the heat. We were all waiting up nosebleeds, Massacre Garden, and he says it the line, and the fire shoots out from the stage, and then he says, "Cross of Holy Fire." I forgot what he said in the later, but the fire, the pyrotechnics on this song live really kicked the song into gear. I remember the crowd just going nuts, and it goes into like the sort of the guitar solo, whatever instrumental part, and the song just goes off to the races. It just tears the roof off. What a great song! I mean, such a great song. Um, Leave That Thing Alone. The second instrumental after "Where's My Thing" that they've done in a long time, and I guess the word "thing" connects the two songs. I don't know if it was meant to. I know when "Leave That Thing Alone," "Where's My Thing" came out, it said, you know, part 4 of Gangster Boats trilogy or something like that, and it was just being goofy. But this song, it does seem like the second part of a trilogy. It actually would be in a sense because the next album would have Limbo, but I don't know if it was necessarily part of a trilogy the way like the Fear trilogy or nothing. But there was 3 instrumentals with each album, with the 3-song album. So this song was the second one to come out, and I thought this one they stretched out a little bit more than on Where's My Thing. This is one of their favorites and one of my favorites too. And again, not being totally flashy. It's I think with these later instrumentals going forward, some of the fans might have been maybe. I know some of the fans might have been a little disappointed that it wasn't YYZ. Look, nothing will ever top YYZ and Levi's Strangiano, but I love Leave That Thing Alone. I love Where's My Thing. I thought Where's My Thing was pretty flashy, but for the maybe not YYZ flashy or Via flashy, but I think overall though, going for atmospherics is what Russia was trying to do with these current instrumentals. Limbo is another one on the next album. Atmospherics, creating a vibe, painting a picture with the music, and that's what these songs do. And they have great groove and great like dynamics again, going from like funkiness and textured guitar parts, like that's what you hear in the beginning of this instrumental when it kicks off, and then rocking out heavy part, really in your face guitars in the other part, and then you get to the guitar solo right after the bridge, which is like a whole other part. Alex just comes out of nowhere with that guitar solo, and it's again not a flashy solo. It's just kind of climbing up with the notes, very melodic. Not trying to play fast or anything, just building and building and building. How high can he go? I think he had the Paul Reed Smith guitar, which I have, and it has a few extra frets. And he's like exploring, how high can I get on the guitar? And he goes all the way up to the highest note he could possibly play, and it just the climax of that solo is just one of my favorite guitar solos of Alex. I would put it in my top 10. I really would. But this song is so dynamic, and they brought this back a couple times. They brought it back on the Test for Echo tour, and later on the Time Machine tour. So this is definitely one of their faves, one of my faves. Really funky. Getty's just everyone shines. Neil has a nice little solo that's almost like Natural Science esque. Quick little solo coming out of the guitar solo, but um, it's almost like Natural Science reminds me of that part. But yeah, it's such a great instrumental. Rush in it at the finest in their natural state is instrumentals. You know. Um, Next track is called Cold Fire, and that song is another song I thought they should have brought back live on future tours. They played it on this tour. They did play it on this tour, and that's one of the best songs they ever wrote. I thought. Great verses, so hooky, great groove. The groove in the verses reminds me a lot of Motion Detector. Actually, it's the same groove from Motion Detector. The verses, and but with different music over it. And some they joked a little bit about the song, the verses too, and some of the being almost like countryish. You could picture a country version of this song. But when they get into the rocking parts of the song, especially the opening chord, which Alex talks about in the Snakes and Arrows documentary about he said I own this chord, which is the hemispheres chord. But I think another chord that he owns is this suspended chord that he plays on Cold Fire, which is the same chord he plays on Show Don't. I call it the Show Don't Tell chord. He plays it on other songs too. He plays it on Roll the Bones. He plays it on. I think he even plays it on in Force 10 a little bit. But it's most notably, I think, to me, on Show Don't Tell. That chord. Well, it opens up this song too. And that's the main riff in this song, in the opening riff, and in the choruses, which take you off to the races. The choruses in this song, the verses, the choruses, everything in this song is so amazing. Um, but the choruses, which have a lot of lyrics in them, has that groove that I really love, which is like the Spirit of Radio. You hear it in YYC, Temples of Xerix. You know what I'm talking about, Rush fans. That groove, which is like off to the races groove for Rush. They really do it on this. The song is about a relationship, but again, this is a key song in terms of like the lyrics. I'll talk about it on this song, which gets into love relationship, but no cliches here. We're talking about reality. Even in the lyric, the guy says to the girl, "What about those love songs that you listen to?" And she's like, "This is not a love song. This is not Fantasyland. This is reality, motherfucker." Like, that's what she's saying to him. But it's about real relationship. The song is about real relationship and the different things that happen. Because, yeah, it's not. I found that out right off the bat. My first girlfriend. When you go from what you hear in the songs, all these love songs, la la la, right? All these, it sounds like so romantic and so like, you think like, oh, it's gotta be the best. And yeah, there's aspects of being related in love that is beautiful. It is a beautiful thing when you find your soulmate, or even if you find your soulmate ultimately. But if you meet someone and you go through and you have a good time, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's sweet. But there's other aspects to it too. It's not just that, and that's all it is. The sweetness, when it's sweet, yes, it's a beautiful thing. You're in this bliss, and it's like, but man and women, they're different thing. Yeah, it is complex, and it is there's growing pains and growing. We all found out the hard way. I'm not the only one, but there's no manual. You don't have a manual in school or anything about. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet when you first meet someone, first relationship, whatever. But there's gonna be other aspects to it that are hard. That because you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with feelings and different things. Well, Cold Fire gets into that. Cold Fire deals with that and deals with the realities of being with a person. It's not all just what you hear in the song. So the Neil wrote it as a response to a lot of that. Hearing songs and going, what are you talking about? It's not all la 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 and hunky dory. No, there's different aspects to it. Especially if you're with someone with soulmate, even if you're there a long time, there's lots of twists and turns and stuff, and lots of things ups and downs and different dynamics and stuff, and it can be very difficult. I know for me it was, and it probably is for everyone. I don't know anyone that just right off the bat they get it right away, and if you did, shit. But Cold Fire, great song. As a song, just musically, Alex guitar solo is like, again, like 2112, like old school Alex shines on this song with the guitar solo, and just the band is just so on fire with that. Played it live, it was great live. Wish they had brought it back on all the tours, but you know, when other fans want to hear Jacob's Ladder and Camera Eye and 2112 and Natural Side, they kind of go, well, you got to play those songs, and that's fine. But such a great rock song. Final track, Everyday Glory. Another track that should have been played live. It's such an awesome Rush song. It probably even should have been on the radio a little bit more. I'm not saying overplay it, but that's a song very radio friendly. Very could have been on the radio. And one of Rush's all time great closers. I think the last three albums here we're talking about, Roll the Bones, Presto, and Counterparts, great closers. We had Available Light on Presto, great closer. You Bet Your Life on Roll the Bones, great closer. And this one, no exception. Everyday Glory, one of the greatest closers of any Rush album. Easily. The way it opens up too, is so dynamic. Beautiful guitars. Da-na-na, da-na-na-na. That melody is so amazing. The way Alex plays it. I don't know, the way they layered on this album. I don't know if there's a little bit of keyboards in the back. I think there is. But it's Alex taking the lead, and acoustic guitars in the choruses. Nice different arrangement in the verses, but still rocking out. Good pace. The pace of the song is so upbeat, so motivational, and so relatable. Everyday people, everyday this, everyday that. Without getting too into lyrics, it's just very relatable. But musically, it's just so thick that you really hear the richness of this whole album, the richness of the textures. My favorite thing about this album, I just listened to the whole thing, and just listening to how the guitars are so well layered, the tonal depth of everything going on, the way the three guys could fill up the sound like that. It's just remarkable, and they do it on this song. This song is so listen to it on a good set of speakers or thing, or in headphones or thing. You will hear what I'm talking about. The verses, you hear the acoustic guitars with electric guitars layered with it. It sounds so good. It makes me want to go and record a song just to do that, you know. And then, like after the second chorus, Getty's vocals are so emotive, and Alex just interrupts with his guitar solo, which again isn't flashy, but just melodic and beautiful, and still really aggressive, but in a beautiful melodic way, and in the way only Alex can do, and just so the way he cuts in. He does that on a bunch of songs anyway. He just cuts in. There'll be Getty singing, yeah, 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 and it's great. And then Alex like, hey, it's my turn. Like, and it's like he cuts in, and it's so good. It's so cool the way it just shifts into like, here's Alex. Like Alex is like the other singer in the band. You know what I mean? In a way, but on the guitar, and he does it so many times on this album. It's not even funny. Um, Cut to the Chase, he does that. He does it on this. He does it on Leave That Thing Alone, where it just cuts in and it's just like, where it's just really just so emotional and so you get so into it. And then middle eight, every part of the song is just so beautiful. It's such a perfect song, it really is. But that's all the songs. I'm sorry if I go on and on, but there's just so much going on in this album. And again, it's not in a Dream Theater kind of way. It's not. It's just very much a rock album, just a great rock album from Rush. Getting back to their roots. And it would always be this way from going forward as far as the recording. This kind of set the tone. And then it was just a matter of future albums making the songs even better and even better, which they did. Because I'll get into it the next. I think the next album is even better. But I think this, compared to the last two, was better. And it's not so much all the songs. I still love the songs on those. Like everything I said about those two albums before, and the albums before, I still stand by what I feel about them. But Rush is always looking at what could be better, and they always step up to the plate and deliver on the things that need to be better. But then on the next album, they'll say, "All right, we got the recording. How about we mix in more of the presto elements and this?" So each album, they're thinking, well, what else can we do? Now we got this new sound, this new old sound back, new and old. It's new, but it's really fresh again. It's going back to what they did before, but it's fresh again because it's been so long, And they're a different band. They're better songwriters, than and all that. Thanks to Peter Collins and all these great producers, right? By the way, him and Kevin Shirley and these guys, they did a great job on this album. And I noticed a lot of bands started to use them on like Iron Maiden and other bands for their recording. Rightfully so, because I think I've heard people trashing Shirley. I love what he did with Rush. I love what he. Thank God, if it wasn't for Kevin Shirley, I don't know what would happen. But going forward, Rush's album would always be this way, where the sound that you hear live would be on the record. Now, look, nothing's ever like you want it live, you gotta see it live. I mean, you gotta be there, you gotta be in there. But if you want it on record, this is how it's supposed to be, and they set the tone for that going forward with all of the rest of Rush's album. Test for Echo, Fate Betrayal, Snakes and Arrows, and Clockwork Angels all had this thick sound in your face. Other dynamics too, acoustics and textures and other things too. But generally speaking, just really full, really full. The tour was really great. The album came out in '93, the end of '93, and they were smart to wait to '94 to do the tour. And that's what they did. I saw it 3 times, back-to-back nights in Madison Square Garden, opening with Dreamline. Incredible, absolutely incredible. I think the second night at Madison Square Garden, I had better seats. Because I went with my friend Blake, as we always go. I think we went with a bunch of people the first night, and then it was just me and Blake the second time. And what I did is we bought single seats because that was one of the ways I figured out that you can get good seats is just by single seats. And I was able to go on the floor, which I hardly ever at concerts got on the floor. let alone like front row or anything. But on this album, on this tour, the second night, I was able to score a seat that was like maybe 30th row or something, and kind of in the middle, great seats. A lot of energy. The energy is so much different when you're on the floor in a big place, a big arena like Madison Square Garden. Which Rush, by the way, they love playing. They always used to love playing at Madison Square Garden. What band doesn't? It's the Mecca, one of the greatest places to play, and it was just so good. Opening with Dreamline, which I kind of predicted they would do, and when they did, I was like, oh yeah, Dreamline, you know, perfect opening song, and they took all, you know, what they did with Counterparts, and they brought it to the live thing, like because it was already they already had a really good sound live, even on the previous tour. That's why they went for this direction on this album, but they pushed it more. Full stacks of Marshall amps for Alex, Getty with his setup, with his setup, and it was back to Rush live the way it used to be. But I never heard it like that till now. I didn't see him on Moving Pictures Tour before that. So the way that it sounded then, now I'm getting to hear that way of hearing it live. With full sound, proper instruments to get it that way. You hear all these songs now, Dreamline. Songs from Presto, like Show Don't Tell was in the set list. And hearing what that sounds like, it was so great. They played Limelight, hearing what that sounds like. Everything else. And the biggest highlights for me was Rush were always a band to bring back songs they haven't played. Analog Kid. I think that was the second song going in. And what a great song. The third song, I think Spirit Radio was second. Analog Kid. Oh my God. Now they brought it back on the last leg of the Roll the Bones tour, which I mentioned in the last one. But thank God they kept it. They probably like, we got to keep that. Give Subdivisions a break, and they kept in Analog Kid, which sounded so good live. When they go into that chorus, the crowd, go watch a bootleg. The crowd responds to that Rush moment. Typical Rush moment, which the chorus and Analog Kid live sounds so good. But all these songs sounded good. The Counterparts songs sounded good. Would have been nice if they played a few different ones, but this is back before they played. This wasn't the evening one yet. They had Candlebox open all the shows on this tour. The third show I saw was Nassau Coliseum, but I thought the Garden show was better. I think the Garden is a better. Nassau Coliseum is no more, of course, but out of the two, I think the seats are generally better in Nassau Coliseum, but the sound was always better in the Garden, no matter what. But just the song list, though, they did things like Analog Kid, and the biggest thing was Prelude Hemispheres. I kind of predicted, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they did Prelude Hemispheres? They did Prelude Hemispheres coming out of Xanadu, which they kept in the set again, which sounded amazing. But instead of going to, like, I think last tour was Superconductor, which was cool, they said, no, let's stay on that 70s vibe. And they went into Hemispheres Prelude. Just the Prelude, but just the Prelude alone. I think the last time they did it was on Moving Pictures, which I didn't see. And that sounded so awesome. Alex brought out the 12-string double neck, too, for the first time. And I never seen it with that guitar before. The one from, Exit Stage Left. Getty didn't do the double neck, but Alex did on Xanadu and Prelude Hemisphere. But there were songs like that. They mixed it up with Time Stand Still, and Mystic Rhythm sounded really good. That was a cool version of it on that one. But just a great tour. Fans, I think we're pretty pleased with this album. I think it brought a lot of the older fans that maybe didn't want nothing to do with Power Windows or Hold Your Fire. Those fans, I think they got a lot of those fans back. I remember hearing someone in the crowd, especially with the concert, saying, "This is Rush. This is the way you." So yeah, there was a lot of that going on. Because I remember I was back with Holy Fire. I was so into Holy Fire. And I remember a lot of people complaining, like, "What is this?" I was so into it. I still am. But those fans that were complaining were not complaining then. They were like, yeah, they were happy again. So that was good. Two videos from. They didn't go too crazy with the video. Then Nobody's Hero and Stick It Out. I think I had videos. What else going on? It was just a great album, a great fun thing. Um, Great album cover. Just trying to see if I'm missing anything here. Yeah, so I'm 3 times. But that's about it. But just a good album that just brought back Rush into a classic sound that we all know, but with a modern twist to it. And it was great, you know. And they kept, I think they threw Bravado in there too on the tour, but it didn't lose anything. It didn't lose anything in terms of like um, when they played those Roll the Bones or Presto. So it was still cool to hear those. It was just, but just putting in, back in the proper perspective, in terms of the way Russians sound overall. Um, it was a great direction to go in for us. Um, I think the next album is a little more complex, but I'll be getting into that with Test for Echo. I'm gonna be doing that video. I'm gonna try not to wait too long this time to do Test for Echo. Talk about that. I'm gonna try to do it as soon as I possibly can because I want to talk about other albums too. I want to go back and talk about the ones I haven't talked about, the classic albums like Moving Pictures and Permanent Waves and 2112 and all that, Hemispheres and all that. And then the album that came later, the last three, after Test for Echo, which I think Rush finished really strong in their career. So I want to get to all these, especially my journey with Rush. But this pretty much sums it up with Counterparts. I hope you really enjoy my. I know I kind of ramble on a lot of times and stuff like that. My videos are not that fancy. I don't have a big microphone. I don't think I need it because personally, these phones. I see guys with all these microphones. It's like, dude, these phones have great microphones on them. So that's what I like to do. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Talk to you later. Peace out, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, last thing I want to leave is, which I say with everyone, give me your thoughts about Counterparts. I forgot to say, you, the audience out there, if you ever watch this, and thank you if you do. If you can like and subscribe too, please, that'd be great. Not a big deal. Just click like, click subscribe. Share it too if you want. And let's talk about it. Where were you when Counterparts came out? What do you think about it? You can tell me whatever. You can have your opinion. We all, different albums and songs mean different things to all of us. There are older fans that might have felt a certain way about this. I get it. Like, everyone's coming from a different place. Rush has so many generations of fans. The 70s crowd, the 80s crowd, the 90s crowd, and beyond. This was somebody's first album. This was my, I guess, seventh album since Signals, getting into them. You know what I mean? So we all have different trajectories with this and different feelings about it. This is mine. But what's yours? Let's hear yours. Where were you? What do you think about Counterparts? And everything like that. I know some people, had different things about it. I've heard things, Neil's drums were sound like a machine or something. I've gotten that about Neil. It's so funny. Some of the fans, some people that maybe try to criticize him. It's so funny. Like there's nothing really to criticize, so they just go, "Oh, Neil's too much like a machine." Like last I checked, the drummer's job is to play in time, and he does it so well. And it's a fair criticism. He was always critical of himself, and went and studied with Freddie Gruber after this for 6 months because he felt like I don't know. There was a little bit of a quote unquote stiffness. Personally, I don't hear a stiffness to the effect where it makes me not want to hear the songs or anything or enjoy the songs. I definitely noticed the difference going forward after that. That the songs were looser and everything. It had a little more of a swing to them after he did that. But whatever. People have different opinions about that. But anyway, what's your opinion? What do you think? Where were you? What do you think about Counterparts? Let's have a discussion. It doesn't end with me ending the video. We can talk about it. If you chime in, I'll chime back in the comments and we can keep talking about it. You know? So enjoy and peace out. See you next time. I'm Vinny K.